We're going to switch over to Studio B. And good morning to you, Brother Michael Jenkins.
And good morning to you, Taylor. I guess I should put my headphones on, right? That might be a good thing, good way to start this day. I'm getting nothing here. Okay. Let me switch positions and let's see. Okay, am I all right?
Yep.
Thank you, Taylor. I appreciate it so much.
Okay.
All righty. Let's see if I can do this. No, I can't do that. How about if I do this? Yeah, I can do that. Okay, we're good. How are we doing? Oh, yeah. Hello, everyone. Welcome to PD Sports Wrap. This is Michael Jenkins. And as we finalize these last days of the state championship basketball tournament, today being the last day, I'm going to tell you about who won and tell you about my experience last week and tell you about what I expect today because I'm headed down there this afternoon. Or not this afternoon. I'm headed down there in about an hour or so when I get off the program. But before I do that, I want to read something that a friend of mine sent me, and it's Coach Tim Perkins, and they're having a big thing for him. You know, he's legendary. He's won state. He's had multiple winning seasons in a row when he was the head coach at Marion High School track, and so many other things he's done. He's basically been, you know, the guy in Marion sports for the last 30 or 40 years. Wherever they needed someone to fill in, he was there. He coached girls basketball, varsity, coached boys varsity basketball. He was a JV boys basketball coach. I think he coached Jonathan too. Coached the JV football team, not to mention the track team. He just did everything. And he's a great guy and one of my best friends, one of the people I admire most around here. And it reads as follows. You're invited to the Tim Perkins Invitational, a track meet honoring Coach Tim Perkins for his dedication to the community. Members are welcome. Join us as we celebrate the legendary Swamp Fox Coach Tim Perkins. The inaugural meet will be Saturday, March 14th at Marion High School Track and Field Stadium in Marion. And there you have it. So on the 14th of March, which is next weekend, Tim Perkins' inaugural track meet will be held. Come on out, check it out, give honor to a great man. Maybe the greatest Swamp Fox ever. No, he's Mr. Swamp Fox to me. Good morning, Miss Sherilyn Lester Howard. How are you today? Let's talk now about the tournament and what we're looking at right now as they move toward wrapping this thing up. I had a great time last weekend. My son and I were over there in Florence, and I didn't see every single game, but I seen, you know, some really good ones. And this week, the state finals started on Thursday. And let's see, on Thursday. So let's take a look at who has done what so far. Let's start out with the Class 3A boys. And they wrapped up their final on the 6th, which was yesterday? And Christ Church was the winner there. They beat Fox Creek, a team that I thought, well, I was really impressed with Fox Creek. I'm serious. Good morning, Pamela Owens-Beatty and Mr. Terrell Pinckney. How are you today? Fox Creek beat a solid Keenan team. And they beat them 75-68. They had the big lead, but Keenan came back. Keenan does not have their legendary coach, Zach Norris. who was up in the stands coaching, by the way, the whole time. I mean, this guy was, you had to see this to believe it. But Zach he was up high in the bleachers at first, and before you know it, you kept seeing him come down further and further, till basically at the end of it, he was basically right behind the scorer's table. And he was screaming at the refs, and he was really, really coaching, you might say. But he was not able to coach them back from where he was sitting, and ended up losing a close one. So Class 3A Boys State Championship goes to Christ Church. 3A, what's 3A? That's 3A boys. Okay. Because I skipped over the 3A girls, let's go right to 5A Division 2. And that was played on Thursday night. Who won this game? Terrell, did Berkeley win this game against Greenville? They didn't have it. They don't have it listed here. So I'm really not sure. I think Berkeley won it. Now Berkeley is a team that I was very impressed with last weekend as well. They hooked up with Goose Creek for a local family feud that took place in Florence. Berkeley is really good. They are loaded. They got young talent. Goose Creek, same thing. They are loaded. They'll be back. They got a bunch of 8th graders on this team, 9th graders, bunch of youngsters. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if we saw a rematch of this next year with Goose Creek versus Greenville. You know, the Charleston area has really been big in this tournament this year. I mean, there are Charleston area teams everywhere. Some competing against each other, some that have competed against each other all year, and they come down to the end of the season, the playoff, and here they are again. Got to run into each other one more time. So, I'm not sure who won that one. Yeah, Terrell, Berkeley. I mean, I'm super impressed with them. I mean, I'm even thinking next basketball season, that I'm probably going to take a trip down to that area to see a game. Maybe Berkeley versus Goose Creek. But Berkeley is going to be there, and so is Goose Creek. So I look forward to this thing coming back next year as a matchup in the Lower State Final. Let's take a look at 2A girls, because that's where Atlantic Collegiate lives. And they got to the big dance by knocking off, what did they beat here? They beat Philip Simmons. First they beat Manning, then they beat Philip Simmons. Then they moved on to play against Lake Marion. And they took Lake Marion down, took them down 55-25. And they ran up against Timberland. And they handled Timberland. But they got to the state and they couldn't handle Landrum. And Landrum came away with the state title right there. Yeah, Terrell says that girl, Elena Carter, is tough. Yeah, Elena Carter and everybody else on that team too. Man, those girls were fun to watch. But Timberland's story is they beat Barnwell. They beat King Street. And then they faced off against Marion. And they came away with a 62-59 squeaker win over Marion. I didn't go to that game. It was during the week. And I understand that Marion folks took a bus down there with a bunch of people. Timberland's a tough place to win. Those people, they're all back there in the woods. Civilization is not even, there's no civilization back there. It's just a school 15 miles back in the woods. And those St. Stephen people and the surrounding folks are very intense. And they've won state championships before, so they understand this thing. So Marion girls went in there after coming off a big win over Chesterfield. And they absolutely hammered Chesterfield. 50-27. I went to that game a couple Saturdays ago. So now you have Marion versus Timberland, and Timberland came away with the 3-point win over the Lady Swamp Foxes, who I'm going to talk about a little bit later. They've been very impressive this year. That senior class really put out and took them all the way to a third round, but they came up 3 points short. So Timberland moves on, meets Atlanta Collegiate Academy, and they go into the state championship, and Landrum, took them down. But I'm not going to say much more about the Swamp Fox right now. I'm going to save a little bit of that for later. Okay, so 3A girls shook out this way. You had Oceanside Collegiate play Keenan in the lower state final. In the upstate, you had St. Joseph versus Walhalla. Yeah, Walhalla. Well, guess what? Walhalla won the state championship. Walhalla. Not to be confused with Valhalla or whatever. But anyway, Keenan girls had gotten there. Walhalla took them down. Now, in this 3A, this is where the Dillon Lady Wildcats lived. And they got to the third round. And then they had to go to Columbia. And this is when a lot of dreams die. You go to Columbia for a third round game, you know you're going to be facing somebody really good. And sure enough, they were facing Keenan girls. And first of all, Dillon won their first game 56-26 over North Charleston. They beat River Bluff 69-53. Then they faced off against Keenan, and they lost that game. And it was pretty close. I mean, 43-35. I would have to, tip my hat to them for going down there and giving that kind of effort. But Dillon girls had a great season. I was very impressed every time I seen them this year. Now, 2A boys, and this was on the 5th, which was Thursday. Philip Simmons is the state champion there. And they got there by knocking off Whale Branch, Atlantic Collegiate, and Central. Now, Central is a team that Marion played against. And Marion boys won their first game. They beat Edisto. And they beat them 43-42 in overtime. Central had beaten Manning, and Marion had to go to Central for a second round showdown. And they lost that game. Central was good. Central had a little guard that was he was unguardable, basically. They did nothing to stop him all day. And he just kept going in the lane, out of the lane, doing everything he wanted to do. And I must say this too. The refs at the Central game, that was one of the worst refereeing performances I've seen this year. It was pretty bad. Marion got nothing. They lost that game in overtime. So, Central moves on. They play against Philip Simmons. Philip Simmons beats them by 2 points. So that's how close we came to a Mullins versus Marion lower state final. I was kind of hoping for that. Now, Mullins was the top seed going into this tournament, and they took care of business. In the first round, they beat Academic Magnet by a score of 61-51. They then faced off against my homeboys and cousins and family down in Lake Marion, and Mullins beat them 73-45. And then Hampton County came to town, and they were all feeling good. I mean, folks on the internet were talking about, yeah, well, wait till Hampton County comes down there. Spanked. Mullins took care of them, and then they moved on to the lower state last weekend, and they faced off against Philip Simmons, and Mullins probably played their worst game of the year. I'm going to talk about them a little bit more extensively as well. because they had been on such a roll. I think they had won something like 12 in a row before last Saturday. And that's the thing about, finishing the season strong and being on a long winning streak. You kind of due for a letdown of sorts sometimes. And it looks like Mullins was kind of let down last weekend. They did not play with their usual verve. They did not play with their usual intensity. So, but when the game started, it was looking great. Mullins was up 20-14 on these guys. I said, well, Mullins get ready to take these boys out. And then it all turned around. Mullins couldn't score. I think they had a boxing one on Dion, and they rendered him ineffective. Jakari had a bad game. I mean, for him, I never seen them have a bad game. I never seen him where he wasn't getting loose. And I'm hearing music from somewhere. Why? Anyway, so that's what happened there. So Mullins ends up coming up short. Philip Simmons moves on to the state final against High Point Academy. And Philip Simmons came away as the state champion. Good morning, Miss Teresa Kenny, Mr. Leo Phillips. Thanks for joining me this morning. Antoine Norman, what's up? I know you always paying attention to what's going on around here. Tony Samuel's son. Anyway, looking at the 4As. Now, this is going to be played today. And this is 4A boys. And there's going to be a matchup between South Point and North Augusta. North Augusta is a program, boys and girls, that's always hanging around to win championships. The girls are in it, boys are in it, and today we'll see if South Point can slow their roll. This game starts at 6 o'clock today at the Colonial Life Center in Columbia. Let's see. Class 4A girls. And Class 4A girls pits. 4A's always got to be different with their brackets. What you have is West Side will play against North Augusta. And that game today will be played at 4 o'clock at the Colonial Life. 4 o'clock today. See if you can catch. Now, West Side is the team. No, I think it was Westwood that they say was going to be the team to beat. But here's West Side. So, West Side of North Augusta. Remember North Augusta won like, what, 4 or 5 in a row a couple years ago? It's ridiculous, man. 5A D1 boys. And this was played, and I did watch this game on TV last night. Now, Ashley Ridge is a team that I really enjoyed watching last Saturday. They've got talent. They're fun to watch. They ran up against Ridgeview last night, and Ridgeview is almost a national power right now. Derek Crawford. No, I'm sorry, he's on Keenan now. Ridgeview is dominating high school basketball in South Carolina. And let me tell you how they got there. First of all, they had a bye. That's another thing. I got a problem with this bye stuff. Y'all are okay with byes? I think if you got a tournament, everybody play every round. But you got people sitting there with byes because of numerical inefficiencies or numerical differences. But, I mean, come on. You got byes everywhere. I'm looking at Ridgeview. They got a bye. So they don't play the first game. They move on. They basically only have to play 4 games, not 5. They started out with a bye. They played the next game against Boiling Springs. They beat them 87-64. Spartanburg and Rock Hill played against each other. But lo and behold, Dorman is waiting for them because they got a bye. So Spartanburg and Dorman faced off, and Dorman came away a close one, 79-75, and then Dorman moved on to Ridgeview, and Ridgeview handled them 74-65. Burns got a bye as well, and Clover and Blythewood had to play each other in the first round game. Clover came away with a 57-50 victory, and they moved on to play against Burns, who beat them 71-51. And then they had to play, Burns had to play against Dutch Fork, who had a bye here. It's like Malden, Spring Valley. Dutch Fork had a bye. And Dutch Fork played Malden, and Dutch Fork took care of them 50-48. But they got took care of 71-51 by Burns. Burns and Ridgeview faced off in the Upper State Final. Ridgeview came away with a 84-76 win. Ashley Ridge, and this is a team that I really enjoyed seeing last week, and I was glad that they were able to get to a state championship, even though they lost, but they played against, Ridgeview's pretty darn good. So this is how this went. Where's Ashley Ridge? Ashley Ridge started down here in the lower half of the bracket. They played against Wando, one of their neighbors, and they beat Wando 64-55. Carolina Forest got a bye, and they were waiting for Ashley Ridge in that second round. And in the end, Ashley Ridge came away with a 70-64 upset of Carolina Forest. They moved on to play against another rival, another local, James Island. If you look, folks, look at this. If you look at this lower state bracket right here, in the third round, you have West Ashley, Charleston, Cane Bay, Charleston, or Charleston area, James Island, Charleston, Ashley Ridge, Charleston. So all of these teams in the third round for the 5A lower state, 5A D1 lower state, are all Charleston area teams. Which tells me something. Charleston is booming. And they're building schools, and the students are there. And every year now, you're seeing. There was a time when Charleston had kind of fell back a little bit in terms of overall accomplishments in state championships, but it seems now they're in full force. Good morning, Miss Sylvia Crawford. How are you today? So let's see what else we got here. 5A D1 girls. And this was played on the 6th, which was yesterday. And Blythewood girls came away a winner, beating Wando, a team that I believe will be back. Wando's loaded too. So, but they came up short. I watched them play last Saturday. Watched them play against Somerville. Omar Hemingway. They beat Omar Hemingway's Somerville. Oh, no, he's Goose Creek, though. They beat Somerville. And then you had Goose Creek in this thing as well. So you have Wando versus Somerville. Wando won that game 62-53. You had Lexington, Carolina Forest. Lexington won that game. They moved on to play against Wando. Wando beat them 53-52. And that was a good one, too, by the way. So Blythewood was waiting, and Blythewood took care of business. And I think it's their second straight state championship in a row. So Blythewood's rolling. Looking at single A boys. And this is where Latta lived, and they were having a good season. And they got to a third round game. And they got to a third round against Carvers Bay. Now, what did Latta do initially? Latta beat Scotts Branch. They moved on to play against Branchville. They won there. And then they ran on to... I'm hearing sounds. I'm hearing music in my ears.
How about now?
Okay. Yeah. So I've been hearing it for a while, but I wasn't really thinking about it.
Okay.
Okay, so Ladder moves on to play against Carvers Bay. They got beat. Carvers Bay moved on to play in the lower state final against Bethune-Bowman. Bethune-Bowman won 69-65 and a good one. And then they moved on to play against C.A. Johnson. They will move on to play against C.A. Johnson because that game is going to be played today. And that game will be played today at 2 o'clock. So, and I think there's one more in here. Okay, 1A girls. And this is where a lot of Lady Vikings live. And this final will be held today, Great Falls versus Military Magnet, who right now is really stomping everybody. I mean, everybody. I mean, who are these people? What kind of military are they down with? But they were a #1 seed, and they beat Johnsonville in the first game, 89-40 something. They moved on to play against Bamberg Earhart, and they beat them 72-10. That's a little scary. When a team is beating folks of that kind of score. Mr. Damian Morrissey, good morning. Haven't seen you in the circle for a while. Check out basketball in the area, but thank you for the update. Much love to you, my brother, and thanks for the support. So Military Magnet ran up against Ladder, and Ladder was feeling pretty good about themselves. Everyone was feeling pretty good about Ladder until that game happened. And Ladder got taken down 76-29, actually. So it wasn't a good game for them. But I want to talk a little bit about Mullins boys because and the fantastic season that they had. I wanted to take a look at, oh boy, Taylor would be telling me right now, you got 1 minute. But I wanted to take a look at Mullins here for a minute. They had an outstanding season. Now, where did this winning streak start? The last game that Mullins lost prior to last weekend was on the 10th of January. Think about that for a second. The 10th of January. They lost to Loris, a contender, 72-68. From that time on, they won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 game winning streak, unless I missed one here, before they lost last week. Marion girls went on a little run of their own toward the end of the season that got them in the conversation. Of course, they lost 3 points, but okay, they went on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They went on a 5. They won 6 out of 7 games. Swamp Foxes did. I'll talk more about them next week because I'm out of time, folks. I will see you all next week. Ronald Rawl, what's up, man? I'm done.